Welcome back to the deep dive. It really feels like the world spun off its axis again this week, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Global events are just a whirlwind. Innovation is relentlessly pushing boundaries, and we're navigating some truly urgent challenges.
Yeah,
Honestly, trying to keep up can feel like, I don't know, trying to catch water from a fire hose
it
sometimes.
absolutely can. The sheer volume of information, from these huge scientific discoveries changing how we see the universe
Right.
to the really intricate shifts in geopolitics, global power. It often leaves us with a lot of headlines, but maybe not the full picture of what it all means.
And that, my friend, is precisely why we're here. Today, we're not just skimming the surface, we're trying to excavate the stories beneath the headlines.
Yeah.
Custom tailored to equip you, our discerning listener, with those crucial insights. Our mission, really, is to unearth those truly impactful nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah, get to the core.
Offer some surprising facts, maybe, and connect the dots between things that seem totally unrelated. Think of us as your, I don't know, intellectual Sherpas guiding you through this complex terrain so you can genuinely understand the why behind it all.
I like that. And we'll be looking at everything from the really deep stuff like quantum physics
Wow.
and the farthest reaches of space to, well, the very messy dance of international diplomacy and even the fabric of our societies.
Right.
We'll explore how science, tech, geopolitics, how it's all reshaping our present and our future. So get ready for, hopefully, an engaging conversation that brings some clarity to all this complexity.
And maybe a few aha moments along the way, right?
That's the goal.
Exactly. And the beauty of these deep dives is seeing how it's all kind of connected, you know? We've got so much to unpack today, so let's just jump straight in. Cosmic frontiers first, unveiling some truly incredible new developments.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Let's begin with a moment of reflection, actually. A tribute to a true giant in science. The community recently mourned the passing of Rainer Weiss. Just an extraordinary figure. His vision literally helped us listen to the universe in a way we never imagined.
That's a perfect way to put it. Rainer Weiss, he was instrumental, and that's probably an understatement,
Yeah.
in conceiving and building LIGO. That's the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory.
Right, Lego.
These huge instruments, they famously confirmed Albert Einstein's prediction of gravitational waves. A prediction from, what, a century ago?
Think about that. 1916, he predicted it. And 100 years later, boom, they detect them using technology Weiss basically championed into existence.
It's just an amazing testament to persistent inquiry, isn't it?
And it wasn't just about the monumental engineering, was it? He was also just so passionate about precision measurement, how crucial it is for studying the universe.
Exactly. And he had this infectious enthusiasm, apparently. Combined with such a rigorous scientific mind, well, that's a rare combination. It just inspires people.
So what's the lasting lesson from his work, you think, for the next generation of scientists?
That's a really critical question.
Right.
Weiss wasn't just building detectors. He was like a cultural force in physics. He really ingrained this idea that these cosmic phenomena, things thought purely theoretical or just way too faint to ever detect, could actually be measured with incredible precision. His legacy isn't just observing gravitational waves from colliding black holes and neutron stars.
Right, which is huge in itself.
It is. But it's also a testament to decades of scientific dedication, the collaborative spirit he fostered, this relentless belief that the universe will give up its secrets if we just build sensitive enough instruments to listen.
So he taught us the impossible is often just the unmeasured.
Exactly. He opened up a whole new window onto the cosmos, gave us new ears, like you said.
No ears to hear the universe's most dramatic symphony. Amazing. So if Rainer Weiss gave us a new way to listen, our next discoveries are kind of showing us how the universe builds itself. From those big cosmic ripples down to, well, how planets actually form, starting right here in our own backyard. What's the latest on Jupiter's ancient history?
Right. So recent research has given us some really unprecedented insights into Jupiter's age and the early timeline of our whole solar system's formation.
How'd they figure that out?
Well, scientists did it by studying these things they call molten raindrops found in meteorites. Chondrules, technically.
Chondrules, molten raindrops.
Yeah, they're tiny, like millimeter-sized spheres. Basically pristine relics from the very beginning of the solar system.
Wow.
They preserve this chemical fingerprint of conditions from billions of years ago. So by analyzing their composition, their isotopic ratio, stuff like that, researchers could figure out when they formed. And from that, They can deduce when Jupiter got big enough to gravitationally mess with the distribution of material in the early solar system disk.
So it helps pinpoint when Jupiter really became
Yeah.
Jupiter.
Exactly. It paints a much clearer picture of those turbulent early conditions and just how quickly giants like Jupiter must have taken shape.
Molten raindrops as cosmic time capsules. That sounds like something out of sci-fi.
It kind of does, yeah.
But speaking of mind-bending visuals, astronomers just made another groundbreaking discovery, a baby exoplanet actually forming inside a multi-ring disk around a baby star. And it looks like it's, well, eating its way into existence.
This is a truly remarkable find. They observed it directly with LMA, the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array down in Chile.
Right. LMA is powerful.
Incredibly powerful. And what's unique here is the visual. This baby exoplanet, still forming, is actively consuming matter from its surroundings. It's carving out a distinct gap in that protoplanetary disk.
So it looks like, what did you call it? A planetary Pac-Man?
Slight chuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that. It's like watching a planetary Pac-Man chomping its way through all the cosmic dust and gas around it.
Chuckles, I love that image. So it's literally just vacuuming up everything in its path?
Pretty much, yeah.
What does seeing this Pac-Man planet, what does it fundamentally change about how we think planets develop? Does it confirm theories, challenge them?
Well, it's providing direct observational evidence for a process that's mostly been theoretical until now, this idea of in situ accretion of planets.
Okay.
Seeing this Pac-Man in action, it doesn't just enhance our understanding of planet formation, especially the core accretion model where a solid core grabs gas, but it also opens up totally new avenues for exoplanet research.
Right.
For instance, we can study the dynamics of that disk-planet interaction in real time. How fast do planets actually grow? What kind of orbits might result from this kind of active consumption?
So it's like watching planetary birth live.
Exactly. It shows us these processes are often way more dynamic and, well, visible than we previously thought. It might even suggest this aggressive Pac-Man-like growth is maybe a more common way for planets to develop than we realized.
Yeah. That's pretty profound. Watching a world literally being born. And while new planets are forming out there, back here on Earth, SpaceX is just relentlessly pushing its own space exploration goals. They had a huge week, didn't they?
They certainly did. SpaceX's Starship mega rocket, this was its 10th test flight. It successfully lifted off from Starbase down in Texas.
Flight 10, success.
Yeah, and this launch marked a really significant milestone. It kind of emphasizes their whole resilience over perfection approach, you know?
Right, iterate fast.
Exactly. They've been working hard on previous challenges like those nitrogen tank malfunctions that caused problems on earlier flights. It just shows this rapid, iterative design and testing philosophy that's pretty unique in aerospace.
It's incredible to watch that model in action. Learn from failures, upgrade, launch again, often really quickly. But what's the big, ambitious vision for Starship? It's more than just a giant rocket, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The ultimate goal for Starship is a fully reusable spacecraft system.
Fully reusable.
Yeah. Not just for deploying satellites, though it'll do that, but more dramatically, 4 crewed lunar landings under NASA's Artemis program.
Right, NASA's counting on it.
And eventually, the really big ambitious goal, Mars colonization. So Flight 10 really solidifies SpaceX's position at the forefront, proving their design philosophy, which seems radical at first, is actually delivering results for deep space travel.
And it wasn't just Starship making headlines for them, was it? Starlink, their internet constellation, keeps growing too.
Correct. SpaceX also successfully launched another 28 Starlink satellites. That was on a Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida.
Just another batch.
Yeah, part of their ongoing effort to build out this huge constellation of internet satellites. And this particular launch, it also coincided with their 400th Falcon 9 drone ship landing at sea.
400, that number is just staggering.
It's an astonishing number. It really highlights their mastery of rocket reusability. Each launch enhances the Starlink network's capacity, shows SpaceX's growing capabilities. And get this, the Falcon 9 booster on that flight, it was its 30th flight, a record.
30th flight for one booster. That's just phenomenal. A ballet of engineering precision. Meanwhile, NASA isn't sitting still either. Their own return to the Moon and Mars efforts are going full speed ahead.
Absolutely. NASA's Artemis II mission, that's set for 2026, it's going to carry 4 astronauts around the Moon. a crucial step before humans actually land again.
Right, the precursor to landing.
Exactly. And this mission, it's supported not just by the astronauts you see, but by these huge dedicated ground teams. We're talking people like Amit Chatria for mission management, Charlie Blackwell-Thompson overseeing launch control, Jeff Radigan directing flight operations.
A whole army of experts.
Stan Love is the capsule communicator, the Capcom, making sure the crew gets clear instructions.
The voice in their ear.
And Lily Villarreal, leading the complex recovery team for splashdown. Their collective expertise is absolutely critical, especially since Artemis II is vital prep for Artemis III, which aims to land crew on the lunar South Pole, that region where they think there's water ice.
So it's this huge orchestra of brilliant minds on the ground making these incredible missions happen. And while they prepare for the moon on Mars, the Perseverance rover just keeps exploring, sending back fascinating clues.
Yeah, Perseverance has been making really significant strides. It recently visited a place called Soroya Ridge and Jezero Crater.
Soroya Ridge, what's special about it?
Well, it's this notable outcrop. It's lighter in color than the surroundings, and the rover's meticulously analyzing it right now. It's using its advanced instruments. You've got Watson.
Watson, that's the wide-angle topographic sensor for operations and engineering.
That's the one, for panoramic views and detailed microscopic images. Then there's Sherlock.
Sherlock, scanning habitable environments with Raman and luminescence for organics and chemicals. Love these acronyms.
Chuckles. Yeah, they're great. Sherlock has an ACI, an autofocus and context imager, for microscopic chemical analysis, and PIXL.
PIXL, Planetary Instrument for X-ray Lithochemistry.
Right, that does precise elemental mapping. So all these instruments are gathering high-res images and chemical data. It's all part of this ongoing effort to steadily unveil Mars' geological and environmental history, trying to figure out if Mars ever hosted life, or maybe could someday.
Still the big question for Mars. And speaking of unveiling cosmic mysteries, the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, just keeps delivering mind-blowing revelations. What's its latest stunning discovery?
Oh, the JWST has captured these absolutely breathtaking images of the Butterfly Nebula.
The Butterfly Nebula.
Yeah, it's a really mesmerizing object. And it's not just beautiful, it's scientifically fascinating. It's a planetary nebula, which means it's where a dead sun-like star is shedding its outer layers.
Okay.
And in doing so, it's actually forming large dust grains. What's really cool is that these dust grains are the essential building blocks for new planet formation somewhere else in the galaxy.
So the death throes of one star provide the ingredients for new planets.
Exactly. The images give us unprecedented insight into stellar evolution, the life and death of stars. But they also raise profound questions about whether complex organic molecules, the kind we associate with life, could potentially form in such extreme cosmic environments. It highlights this parallel, sometimes surprising, chemistry that happens under vastly different conditions, linking stellar death to cosmic creation.
Wow. So even in stellar death, there's the potential for new life, new planets. That's a beautiful, if complex, cosmic circle. But not everything happening in space is pure science, is it? There's some serious geopolitics playing out up there, too. Nations vying for dominance.
Yeah, this brings us to the, well, intensifying lunar dominance race between the U.S. and China.
Right, the moon race 2.0.
Kind of. SpaceX's Starship progress is really fueling American hopes to establish a sustainable human presence on the moon. But China has its own incredibly ambitious plans for a lunar base, and many experts are cautioning that even Starship's success might not be enough to deter China or really change their timeline.
So space isn't just about science anymore.
Not solely. It underscores the strategic importance of space, not just for exploration, but as a critical domain for national prestige, technological leadership, maybe even security down the line. It's definitely a new frontier in geopolitical competition.
A new space race, different stakes, different players, with the moon as the next big contested frontier. And while nations jostle for position up there, back here on Earth, another huge revolution is unfolding, one that's maybe closer to home and reshaping almost everything, the AI revolution.
Yeah, moving from the cosmic to the computational.
The AI revolution is absolutely here, and it seems like it's deepening its ties with governments globally at just an astonishing pace. It's quite striking, isn't it? How fast major AI players are engaging with policymakers now. This isn't just lobbying, is it?
No, it's definitely more profound than that. A prime example is Anthropic, the AI company based in San Francisco.
Right.
They just established a National Security and Public Sector Advisory Council. This move isn't just about, say, getting government contracts. It's a strategic recognition that AI is now fundamentally a matter of national security. It influences everything from defense to intelligence analysis.
And who's on this council?
Well, it's composed of pretty distinguished former officials, people like former Senator Roy Blunt, David S. Cohen, who used to be deputy director at the CIA Central Intelligence Agency.
Okay, so they're bringing in serious government and intelligence experience. What's the specific goal here beyond just general advice?
Their role is basically to guide Anthropic on how to responsibly integrate AI into really sensitive government functions, defense, cybersecurity, intelligence analysis, and crucially, making sure ethical considerations are front and center.
Right, the ethics are huge.
Hugely important.
Yeah.
And this fits into a broader trend. You see other big AI firms like OpenAI, Alphabet, that's Google's parent, xAI, they're all intensifying cooperation with government bodies. The Pentagon, for instance, just set up a new $200 million program specifically for developing defense AI tools.
$200 million just for defense AI.
Yeah. So this engagement, it reflects this increasing focus on balancing rapid innovation with, robust security and ethical frameworks, especially with this fierce global AI competition going on, particularly with nations like China and Russia. It's about building trust and making sure AI development kind of aligns with national interests in this really fast-moving landscape.
It sounds like a critical dance between progress and precaution. Definitely. And speaking of rapid, the investment boom in US AI startups this year, it's been absolutely unprecedented, hasn't it? Feels like money is just pouring in.
You're not wrong there. 2025 is seeing just this massive surge in funding for US AI startups. Lots of companies raising over $100 million in single rounds.
100 million plus.
Yeah, and we're talking staggering figures overall, like OpenAI securing, an estimated $40 billion in investment, and Anthropic raising $3.5 billion. This isn't just a trend. It's like a seismic shift in where capital is going.
$40 billion. Whistles slightly. That's just wild money. What's this colossal investment primarily driving, and what are the sort of downstream effects we should be watching out for?
Well, this huge investment is driving AI's spread into incredibly diverse fields. Everything from advancing autonomous transportation,
self-driving cars and trucks.
Exactly. Yeah. To powering creative applications, generative art, music, to enhancing predictive analytics across pretty much every industry you can imagine. It signifies this really thriving investment climate that puts AI right at the forefront of tech advancement.
But there's always a but.
There is.
Yeah.
This explosive growth. It also brings up really pressing discussions around AI ethics, the need for effective regulation, and the profound societal implications of its widespread adoption. Things like its impact on jobs, on privacy, on how decisions get made.
Yeah, the big questions.
It's a necessary ongoing response to this rapidly evolving landscape of artificial intelligence. AI trying to achieve human-like intelligence through things like machine learning, natural language processing, robotics. It's both incredibly exciting and, a little daunting.
A lot of money, a lot of innovation, but also a lot of big questions about how we manage this technological tsunami. Okay, so let's talk about tackling some of AI's challenges then, and maybe enhancing its capabilities. What's this about Mesa AI trying to fix the, frankly, alarming failure rate in enterprise AI projects?
Right, so Mesa AI, they've secured $25 million specifically to address this really significant problem. Studies suggest the failure rate for enterprise AI projects can be as high as, wait for it, 95%.
95%, that's terrible.
It's embarrassing, frankly. So Mesa's focus is on accountability, transparency, and really tailoring AI solutions to specific company needs.
Yeah.
This builds on an MIT report, that's the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which cited a critical lack of measurable impact and just convoluted data handling as key problems. See, a lot of organizations just grab off-the-shelf tools that aren't really a perfect fit for how they actually operate.
Leading to wasted money and disappointment.
Exactly. Wasted investment, disillusionment. Mesa aims to change that with more bespoke, traceable solutions.
95% failure rate. No wonder they got that funding. But it's not just big companies struggling or benefiting, right? AI is also becoming a real game changer for small businesses, too.
Absolutely. AI tools are proving immensely beneficial for small businesses, saving considerable time, saving money, significantly enhancing efficiency.
How so?
Well, reports indicate about 68% of small business owners are already using AI-driven tools for things like customer service, marketing, maybe inventory management, and a remarkable 74% plan to expand their workforce by incorporating these tools.
Wow.
AI can apparently reclaim up to 13 hours a week for business owners. That lets them focus on higher value stuff, improves customer service, make better data-driven decisions.
13 hours a week, that's almost 2 full workdays back for a small business owner. That is a monumental impact.
It really is.
But
Yeah.
there's still a flip side here too, right? Even with this progress.
Yes, that same MIT report that highlighted the failures in big enterprise AI, it also offered a crucial warning. Nearly 95% of generative AI pilot projects specifically failed to yield measurable financial impact, mostly due to integration and operational issues.
So the potential is huge, especially for small businesses, but you got to be smart about implementing it.
Exactly. Strategic implementation and realistic expectations about what current generative AI can actually do are key. It's not quite a magic bullet yet.
Gotcha. It seems like we're constantly pushing boundaries in tech, though, from these practical business uses to the really deep theoretical foundations of computing. What's the latest groundbreaking news on quantum memory?
This is really cool. Researchers at Caltech, the California Institute of Technology, they've extended quantum memory lifetime by an astounding 30 times.
30 times. How?
They managed it by transforming fragile quantum information into robust sound waves. They used this miniature device, kind of like a microscopic tuning fork.
Quantum info into sound waves.
Yeah, and this is critically important for developing practical, scalable quantum computing and building robust quantum networks. It overcomes one of the huge hurdles where superconducting qubits, the basic units of quantum info, they just struggled to store information for long without decohering, losing the data.
So this could make quantum computers much more stable and reliable.
That's the potential pathway this breakthrough offers, yes. A massive leap forward for a technology that could just redefine computing as we know it.
Incredible. But with all this advancement, these leaps in capability, there are also growing concerns about cybersecurity and geopolitical AI issues, right? Creating new vulnerabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Which raises the important question, how do we protect sensitive data and critical national infrastructure in this new era?
So what's happening on that front?
Well, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth recently announced a comprehensive review into Chinese nationals managing sensitive cloud services for the Department of Defense, the DoD.
Okay, why now?
This move followed a report from ProPublica about Microsoft's practices. Hegseth declared an immediate halt to any such involvement, citing national security priorities. He also mandated a third-party audit of Microsoft's digital escort program, as it was called.
Wow, strong words.
Very strong. He explicitly stated that all software providers must eradicate any association with Chinese individuals in DoD systems. It really underscores this escalating vigilance over foreign influences in critical infrastructure.
A direct, decisive response to security concerns at the highest level. And it's not just government agencies facing these challenges, is it? Private companies are vulnerable too, sometimes with massive consequences for regular people.
Indeed. TransUnion, the big global consumer credit reporting agency, they disclosed a major data breach. It compromised the personal information of about 4.4 million customers.
4.4 million? How did it happen?
It seems it occurred due to unauthorized access to a third-party application, which highlights the vulnerabilities that can exist even within sophisticated systems. It just underscores the growing challenges of cybersecurity and data protection, especially for credit reporting agencies. They handle such sensitive info, social security numbers, financial records, credit histories. They're prime targets for hackers.
Yeah, that's a huge wake-up call for data security everywhere. The fallout for individuals can be really long-lasting.
Okay, let's pivot slightly to a different but incredibly important application of AI education. MathGPT is expanding its reach. Yes, MathGPT. Right. It's developed by Got It Education. They're significantly expanding their cheat-proof AI tutor and teaching assistant. It's going into over 50 U.S. institutions now, community colleges, state universities.
A cheat-proof AI tutor. That sounds intriguing. How does it actually achieve that? Helping students without just giving them the answers?
Well, it uses advanced AI to understand the student's learning process. It provides step-by-step guidance, not just the final answer. And it can apparently identify patterns that suggest maybe someone's trying to bypass the learning part.
Ah, okay. So it encourages genuine understanding.
That's the goal, to provide a highly accessible, interactive learning environment that adapts to each student's pace, offers immediate feedback, strengthens those foundational concepts. Ultimately, it's about empowering students and helping teachers manage bigger classes more effectively, especially with declining math performance and high STEM dropout rates being such big issues.
Sounds like a potentially powerful tool in a tough educational landscape. Okay, from the cutting edge of technology, we now need to shift our focus. we're turning to the intricate and often very turbulent landscape of global tensions and humanitarian crises. This past week has seen some significant and frankly devastating developments across several conflict zones.
Starting with the intensifying Russia-Ukraine conflict, reports indicate a significant escalation in the air war there.
How so?
Well, Russia is apparently actively constructing dedicated airports, specifically for launching those Iranian-made Shahed kamikaze drones inside Ukraine.
Dedicated drone airports.
Yeah, this infrastructure buildup is believed to be aimed at enhancing their aerial capabilities. It's a strategic move to extend the range of their drone operations and potentially increase the frequency of attacks, which often target civilian infrastructure.
And we've seen the devastating impact. There was a horrific attack on Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, just recently, described as massive.
Yes, a massive overnight drone and missile attack. It resulted in at least 14 fatalities, tragically including a child, and dozens more injured. Reports mention significant damage to residential buildings. Nearly 100 structures hit. Even the European Union's delegation office was struck, along with the central shopping mall. Just awful.
It marks one of Russia's largest, most devastating airstrikes against Kyiv in weeks, doesn't it? A grim reminder.
It is. And amidst this, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced plans to meet with U.S. officials in New York to discuss security guarantees, trying to solidify international backing.
But is there much hope for peace right now?
Well, there's pervasive skepticism about the immediate prospects for peace on the ground. And the conflict is having just a severe mental health toll, especially on children in those zones. That's being made worse by persistent funding shortfalls for humanitarian efforts. UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, shared footage showing immense destruction, noting that basically no area in Ukraine is currently safe from bombardment.
Meanwhile, the European Union is trying to tighten the economic screws on Moscow, right? Looking at tougher sanctions.
That's right. Discussions among EU foreign ministers meeting in Copenhagen, Denmark, are focused on developing what they're calling an anti-circumvention tool.
Anti-circumvention, what does that mean?
It would essentially allow the EU to restrict exports to countries that are allegedly helping Russia get around existing sanctions. India, for instance, has faced criticism for its ongoing oil trade with Russia. Critics argue that indirectly supports Moscow's war effort.
And Russia's response?
While Moscow counterclaims that the sanctions actually harm the EU's own economy more than Russia's. And they say they've successfully shifted their trade focus towards other markets. Asia, the Middle East showing a degree of resilience to Western pressure.
It's such a complex web of economic and military pressure. And we also saw reports of a significant naval incident in the Black Sea region.
Yes, the Russian Defense Ministry reported sinking a Ukrainian reconnaissance ship, the Simferopol. They claim they used a naval drone in the Danube Delta.
A naval drone sinking a ship.
If it's confirmed, it would be particularly notable. It might be the first successful use of a sea drone to sink a Ukrainian Navy vessel in this conflict. It signals a potentially significant new tactic in the Black Sea theater. Highlights the evolving nature of naval warfare, with these unmanned systems playing an increasingly critical and dangerous role.
And what about those allegations of Russian surveillance over German military supply routes, monitoring shipments to Ukraine?
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, he dismissed a New York Times report on that as a newspaper hoax.
A hoax.
That's what he called it. Peskov suggested that if such activity were really happening, German authorities would have said something publicly. Moscow consistently frames these kinds of fears about a Russian military threat in Europe as, well, baseless fear-mongering aimed at justifying NATO expansion.
Okay. Turning now to the Middle East, the humanitarian situation in Gaza remains just incredibly dire, with Israel's offensive continuing.
Yes, Israel has intensified its military offensive in Gaza City, which is seen as Hamas's last major stronghold. The stated aim is to dismantle the group's capabilities.
And this is happening despite protests in Israel.
Yes, massive protests across Israel calling for the release of the 50 hostages taken by Hamas back on October 7th, 2023. Tens of thousands gathered in Tel Aviv urging for negotiations for a deal to free the captives. Meanwhile, Israeli troops have stated that the evacuation of Gaza City is an inevitable step as their operations escalate within that dense urban environment.
And the humanitarian crisis there, it's reached catastrophic levels, hasn't it? Global bodies are issuing extremely severe warnings.
They are. All members of the UN Security Council, the UNSC, except notably the United States, have backed the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, report.
And what did that report say?
It labels the severe famine conditions in Gaza as a man-made crisis.
Yeah.
Man-made. There are just these truly poignant, heartbreaking reports of children literally forgetting the colors of food because of the extreme scarcity. UN experts are also decrying enforced disappearances of civilians who are just seeking food aid. It adds another layer of horror. The situation is devastating. Hospitals overwhelmed. Over 62,900 Palestinians, mostly women and children, reported dead since the conflict escalated last year.
It's just a tragedy unfolding before our eyes. Are there any diplomatic efforts happening even as the fighting rages?
Yes, there are some moves. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair met with President Donald Trump at the White House recently to discuss the post-war future of Gaza.
Interesting. Blair and Trump discussing Gaza's future.
It emphasizes international involvement, at least in discussions, about shaping the aftermath, focusing on strategic planning for things like peacekeeping, rebuilding infrastructure, managing the incredibly complex social and political dynamics that will inevitably follow whenever the hostilities cease.
Speaking of President Trump, his administration's trade policies are continuing to make waves globally, sparking new tensions. What's the latest?
Well, there's been a significant escalation with India. The Trump administration doubled tariffs on Indian imports to 50%.
Double them to 50%.
Yeah, impacting an estimated $48.2 billion in exports, especially hitting labor-intensive sectors hard. And White House trade advisor Peter Navarro made some pretty controversial comments, labeling the situation Modi's war.
Modi's war. What does that mean?
He implied that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's economic choices are indirectly funding Russia's military actions and somehow undermining American consumers and taxpayers. It signals a real hardening stance in U.S.-India trade relations.
And this isn't just affecting India, right? Mexico and Belize also suspended certain package shipments to the U.S., affecting smaller exporters.
That's right. Mexico and the Belize Postal Service announced an immediate suspension of certain package shipments to the U.S. This is a direct result of a Trump executive order that eliminated the $800 duty-free exemption for low-value imports.
Ah, the de minimis rule.
Exactly. That rule previously allowed lots of small goods to enter the U.S. without customs duties. The new rules mandate that all shipments, regardless of value, have to be cleared through U.S. customs, and the sender is now responsible for all taxes and duties.
So that really hits small e-commerce businesses hard.
Significantly impacts them, yeah. Businesses that rely on cost-effective shipping for lower-value items. It cuts right into their margins.
What about the upcoming G20 summit? Is President Trump planning to attend?
Well, South Africa is firmly decided to proceed with hosting the G20 summit in Johannesburg, regardless of President Trump's uncertainty about attending.
Why is he uncertain?
He cited South Africa's very bad policies, as he put it, and also the ongoing 30% U.S. tariffs on South African exports as reasons for his potential absence. But South Africa's Minister of International Relations, Ronald Lamola, emphasized the event's success doesn't depend on U.S. participation. He highlighted ongoing diplomatic efforts to reduce those tariffs and asserted their commitment to global cooperation.
Okay, let's move to the Arctic now. Seeing some interesting geopolitical dynamics around Greenland's sovereignty and outside influence.
Yes, Denmark recently summoned a U.S. diplomat. This was amid allegations of American attempts to exert influence in Greenland, specifically mentioning U.S. citizens connected to President Donald Trump.
Influence over Greenland.
Danish officials expressed unease over what they perceive as attempts to assert control or influence over the territory. Greenland, while autonomous, is still part of the Kingdom of Denmark. This whole situation reflects the broader geopolitical competition heating up in the Arctic. Melting ice is opening new shipping routes, potential resource opportunities, making the region strategically vital.
How did the U.S. respond to those allegations? And there's some historical context here, too, isn't there?
Well, the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires, Mark Stroh, met with officials in Copenhagen and reaffirmed Greenland's right to self-determination, acknowledging the delicate geopolitics. And in a separate but deeply related development, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen issued a formal apology to victims of forced contraception practices that happened in Greenland back in the mid-20th century.
Wow, forced contraception.
Yes. So this apology reflects efforts to confront past colonial injustices and try to improve relations, which is crucial as Greenland navigates its path towards potentially greater autonomy, especially with all this increasing international attention on the Arctic.
It seems like a really complex dance between dealing with historical wrongs and modern geopolitical maneuvering. And globally, we're just seeing a lot of political turmoil and human rights concerns popping up all over.
Indeed. In Argentina, President Javier Milei was pelted with stones during a campaign event near Buenos Aires. This happened against a backdrop of public protests against corruption, including allegations involving his own sister, Karina Milei. It really highlights deep public discontent and a volatile political climate there.
And over in Hong Kong, a major trial concluded, raising serious human rights concerns.
Yes, the final arguments in the high-profile national security trial of media tycoon Jimmy Lai have concluded. He's a prominent critic of Beijing.
Right, his case got a lot of attention.
Huge international attention. It's raised serious concerns among human rights groups about press freedom and the erosion of democratic movements in Hong Kong, especially under that controversial national security law imposed by Beijing. This trial is widely seen as a kind of litmus test for judicial independence there.
And in Morocco, a feminist activist is facing severe challenges, highlighting freedom of expression issues.
Yes, Moroccan feminist Ibtissam Lachkar. She's accused of offending Islam through her activism. She was denied medical release recently, even though she's undergoing ongoing cancer treatment.
Denied medical release while having cancer treatment.
Yeah. Her case has stirred up public debate about freedom of expression and women's rights in Morocco. Human rights advocates are raising alarms about what they see as politically motivated arrests and the precarious situation for activists pushing for social change.
We're also seeing new visa restrictions pop up in Africa, framed as a response to perceived unfairness.
Right. Niger has implemented new visa regulations for citizens from several European countries: Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and the UK.
Why?
They're framing it as reciprocity, basically saying it's a response to difficulties Nigerian citizens have faced getting European visas since the military coup there back in July 2023. It reflects strained diplomatic ties and the new government trying to assert its sovereignty and manage migration on its own terms.
And the United States made a pretty controversial decision regarding its own human rights record this past week, didn't it?
Yes, the U.S. announced it will not participate in the upcoming Universal Periodic Review, or UPR. That's scheduled for November 7th in Geneva, Switzerland.
What is the UPR exactly?
It's a unique UN process where the human rights records of all 193 UN member states get reviewed by other member states. So the U.S. deciding not to participate, communicated in a letter from the U.S. mission to the UN's human rights chief, is a significant move. It raises questions about its commitment to these international human rights mechanisms.
Meanwhile, in Eastern Europe, the EU is signaling strong support for Moldova, urging it to resist Russian influence.
That's right. EU leaders are reiterating strong support for Moldova, pushing it to resist increasing Russian influence and actively encouraging its integration into European structures. This comes amidst rising tensions in Eastern Europe. Moldova faces persistent pressure from Russia, its larger neighbor, and the EU sees supporting Moldova as strategically vital to counter further Russian destabilization efforts in the region.
And China has been making a pretty bold strategic display, gathering allies for a parade.
Yes, Chinese President Xi Jinping organized a significant military parade in Beijing, attending were North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Russia's Vladimir Putin.
Wow, Xi, Kim, and Putin together at a military parade.
Exactly. Some commentators dubbed it an axis of upheaval parade. It was clearly intended as a strategic display of unity against Western influence, a direct challenge to perceived Western hegemony. It marked 80 years since the end of World War II, but the underlying message about shifting global alignments was very clear.
A very clear message indeed. Back in Europe, Germany is also looking to boost its military capabilities.
Yes, Germany is set to enhance its military through a new voluntary service bill. The aim is to attract more recruits. It's part of a broader strategy to increase available personnel amidst growing security concerns across Europe. It reflects a significant shift towards a more proactive military stance, largely in response to perceived threats from Russia and a general reevaluation of its defense posture.
And the debate over NATO membership continues to ripple across Europe, now affecting Austria's long-standing neutrality.
Yeah, the discussion there centers on whether Austria might shift from its long-standing neutrality towards joining NATO. This is influenced by the increasing militaristic pressures in Europe. Austria's ruling Liberal Party apparently supports closer integration, but reports suggest a majority of citizens actually back the opposition Freedom Party, which wants to maintain neutrality.
So it's divisive within Austria.
Very. And any shift would have significant legal implications too. Austria's neutrality is established by international agreements that require consensus from the Allied powers, which includes Russia. So it's a really complex and highly sensitive issue.
Finally, on the geopolitical front, Hungary is taking legal action against the EU over a contentious issue involving Russian assets.
That's right. Hungary has initiated a legal challenge against the EU's decision to use frozen Russian assets to provide military support to Ukraine.
Why are they challenging it?
Hungary argues it infringes on its veto power and democratic principles. They've consistently opposed unqualified military support for Ukraine, advocating for diplomatic solutions instead. Moscow also criticizes the asset freeze itself as a violation of international law, adding another layer to the legal and political mess surrounding these funds.
What's the U.S. stance on those frozen Russian assets? Do they agree with the EU's plan to use them for military aid?
Well, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that the frozen Russian assets over $300 billion worth will be used as leverage in negotiations over Ukraine, rather than being seized outright to fund aid directly.
Leverage, not direct seizure.
Exactly. It signals a strategic use of these funds for diplomatic pressure. The aim seems to be compelling Russia to negotiate a peaceful resolution, rather than just allocating the funds for military aid without Moscow's consent. It highlights a more nuanced approach to using financial tools in international diplomacy.
So just an incredible number of sensitive and complex moving parts in the global geopolitical sphere affecting millions of lives. Okay, let's bring it back home now, closer to our everyday lives, and look at some domestic challenges and societal shifts happening in the U.S. and beyond.
Right, shifting focus again.
Let's start with some pretty dramatic shifts in U.S. health policy and what sounds like a leadership crisis at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. Sounds like quite a shakeup over there.
It really does. The CDC recently saw the, dramatic ousting of its director, Susan Menares. And this happened just weeks after her Senate confirmation.
Weeks after confirmation. Why?
It was due to a significant clash with Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over vaccine policy, specifically his proposals to lift vaccine mandates and rescind emergency authorizations for certain public health measures. It was a very direct, very public disagreement right at the top.
A direct policy conflict at the highest level of public health. What were the immediate fallout and maybe the broader implications of that firing?
Well, Menares' legal team quickly accused Kennedy of politicizing public health. They warned of a potential dismantling of public health institutions.
Strong words.
Very strong. And in a significant sign of internal dissent, at least 4 senior CDC officials, including the deputy director, resigned in protest against these changes. They expressed profound concerns about the erosion of the CDC's scientific integrity and its effectiveness. This whole situation, described by some as a total implosion, happened right as the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, was approving new COVID-19 vaccine variants for restricted groups. It just revealed this deep, troubling divide within health leadership about the future direction of public health policy.
And Health Secretary Kennedy, he's been quite vocal about his concerns regarding children's health, too, hasn't he, as these policy debates are unfolding?
Yes. During the signing of several Make America Healthy Again bills down in Austin, Texas, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. expressed significant concern about what he called alarming health challenges facing children across the nation. He specifically cited mitochondrial disorders and inflammation.
Mitochondrial disorders and inflammation.
Yeah. He noted that children seem visually overburdened with various health issues and also mentioned they're experiencing decreasing social connections. It raises broader questions about societal factors impacting youth well-being. His remarks echo this growing awareness and concern about the complex health challenges facing kids in the U.S. today.
Sounds like a really tumultuous time for public health institutions, grappling with internal divisions and these broader societal health concerns. Okay, shifting gears now to a sadly familiar and tragic issue in the United States: gun violence. There was a devastating shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis.
A truly devastating incident, yes. It occurred at a Catholic school in Minneapolis, Minnesota, during a Mass ceremony.
During Mass?
During Mass.
Yeah.
2 children were killed and 17 others were injured. It just transformed a place of worship into a scene of unimaginable horror.
Do we know anything about the suspect?
The suspected shooter was identified as Robin Westman. Reports say Westman posted a manifesto on YouTube before the attack, making threats against President Donald Trump and referencing for the children. Law enforcement reported the firearms used were legally purchased. Westman identifies as a woman, having previously changed their name from Robert to Robin. The incident is being investigated as a potential hate crime, which adds another layer of complexity to this awful event.
It's just heartbreaking to hear about something so devastating, especially involving children and in a sacred space. These moments, they force us to confront not just the awful statistics, but the profound human cost of these ongoing societal challenges. What does this tragedy tell us about where the national conversation needs to go now, beyond just the immediate shock and grief?
Well, it absolutely reignited the national dialogue on gun control and school safety, put immense pressure back on policymakers. Former GOP Representative Trey Gowdy, GOP, is the grand old party, the Republican Party. He drew considerable heat, even from his co-host and supporters, for suggesting it was time to have a conversation of freedom versus protecting children. He emphasized the reactive nature of the current system, called for tracking access to firearms.
And that got backlash.
Fierce criticism, yeah, both from within his party and from right-wing supporters who saw it as infringing on Second Amendment rights. The incident just highlights this deeply entrenched struggle to find effective solutions amidst these really complex debates about constitutional rights and the urgent need to protect innocent lives.
These events are just heartbreaking, and they really force us to look inwards. Let's pivot now to environmental and climate impacts, which are affecting communities worldwide with increasing intensity. Pakistan is facing terrible floods.
Yes, Pakistan is currently facing a severe humanitarian crisis. Relentless monsoon rains are causing devastating floods. Nearly 800 people have died since late June, which is almost triple last year's death toll for the same period.
Triple last year's toll.
Yeah. Entire villages are isolated. The province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has seen the worst devastation. And adding to the crisis, the Gilgit-Baltistan region has experienced these things called glacier lake outburst floods, or GLOFs.
GLOFs, what are those?
That's when glacial lakes basically breach their natural barriers, unleashing these huge torrents of water. Experts warn climate change is making these incidents worse by accelerating glacial melt in the Himalaya Hindu Kush region. The overall impact is affecting over 1 million people.
A massive, multifaceted crisis. What are the international aid organizations doing on the ground? How are they helping?
The UN, the United Nations, UNICEF, and the WHO, the World Health Organization, are all providing critical aid. UNICEF is focusing on children's immediate needs, distributing hygiene kits, working to restore crucial water supplies. The WHO is overseeing disease surveillance to prevent outbreaks of waterborne illnesses like cholera, malaria, skin infections, things that become rampant when sanitary conditions deteriorate and people are displaced. The scale of this disaster really demands a sustained international response.
Absolutely. Turning to urban environmental challenges, but back in the United States. Chicago, Illinois is tackling its long-standing issue with lead water pipes.
Yes, there's a collaborative mapping initiative now by Inside Climate News, GRIST, and WBEZ, which is Chicago Public Radio. It actually allows Chicago residents to easily check the status of their lead water service lines online.
So people can just look up their address.
Exactly. And this tool, it doesn't just provide direct information to residents, it also highlights this critical intersection of race, poverty, and environmental hazards. Vulnerable populations in historically underserved neighborhoods are often disproportionately affected. They face long-term health risks from lead exposure, especially when it's compounded by nearby industrial pollution and aging infrastructure. This empowers residents with knowledge about their risks and the resources available for fixing the problem.
Knowledge is power there. On a slightly more positive and environmental note, the UK is implementing some clever green initiatives, even for something as traditional as their red post boxes.
Chuckles. Yes, they are. Royal Mail, the UK's postal service, announced they're rolling out new solar-powered post boxes across the United Kingdom.
Solar-powered post boxes, how do they work?
Well, it seems like a strategic move to help them compete in the small parcel delivery market, which is getting more demanding. But it also promotes energy efficiency and reduces carbon emissions. It's a smart response to growing consumer demand for sustainable delivery options and fits into Royal Mail's broader environmental commitments.
That's a great example of a simple but effective innovation, and electric vehicle adoption is also getting a big push over there in the UK.
Absolutely. The UK government is actively offering a scheme that provides a pretty substantial discount, £3,750 on specific Ford electric vehicle models. The Puma Gen E and the e-Turnio Courier are examples.
3750 quid off, that's decent.
It is. The initiative is designed to directly incentivize EV adoption across the population.
Yeah.
The goal is to significantly cut carbon emissions and help the UK meet its ambitious climate targets. By making EVs more accessible and affordable, they hope to speed up the transition away from fossil fuels.
Speaking of EVs, there's a really significant and maybe confusing for some shift happening with the charging standard here in North America. What's changing, and what does it mean for EV owners?
Yes, there's a major transition underway. We're moving from the Combined Charging System, or CCS,
Right, the bulky one.
to the North American Charging Standard, or NACS.
NACS, that's Tesla's standard originally.
Exactly. The shift is primarily driven by the dominance and reliability of Tesla's supercharger network, plus Ford adopting NACS recently, and the U.S. government endorsing it. All that together promises to unlock thousands more fast chargers for a wider range of EV drivers.
So what's better about NACS?
Well, NACS boasts a single, more compact connector for both AC, alternating current, and DC, direct current, charging. It's generally seen as a more streamlined, convenient solution than the larger, often two-part CCS system. This evolution aims to significantly enhance the accessibility and viability of electric mobility.
There's always a but.
Slight chuckle. Existing EV owners with CCS ports still need adapters to use the rapidly growing NACS network. So, yeah, dongles for everyone, at least for a while.
Dongles for everyone. That really is the story of modern tech, isn't it? Okay, let's switch gears one last time to economic trends and recovery. Some potentially good news for the U.S. economy. Corporate profits rebounding.
Absolutely. U.S. corporate profits saw a significant rebound in the second quarter. That came along with a revised higher GDP growth figure, gross domestic product of 3.3%.
3.3% growth. That's pretty solid.
It is. This positive shift is attributed to increased consumer spending and robust business investments. It signals a stronger than expected economic recovery, especially following the impacts from President Trump's trade wars. It suggests a resilient appetite for consumption and investment from both consumers and businesses, which drives economic activity and hopefully job creation.
That's a robust recovery sign for the U.S. economy, showing some resilience. And over in India, corporate banking is getting a much-needed modernization boost, trying to catch up with their advanced consumer tech.
Yes, Transbrink, a fintech startup based in Mumbai, India, successfully raised $25 million. Their specific goal is to bridge the substantial gap between India's incredibly advanced consumer fintech scene
Which is huge.
and its somewhat lagging corporate banking sector. While consumer fintech just exploded there, corporate banking often remains stuck with traditional, sometimes manual processes. TransBloop aims to thoroughly modernize transaction banking services, using tech to create frictionless B2B business-to-business transactions. It could potentially reshape the whole corporate banking ecosystem and boost efficiency for Indian businesses.
That sounds like a huge opportunity for a digital transformation, streamlining a vital part of their economy. And another disruptive force, this time in the U.S. economy, is Mark Cuban, actively challenging the behemoth healthcare machine.
Mark Cuban's cost-plus drug company is indeed taking on the massive U.S. pharmaceutical industry, estimated at $5 trillion head-on,
How are they doing it?
by providing transparent, significantly reduced pricing for over 2,200 medications. The company achieves this by ruthlessly cutting out middlemen like pharmacy benefit managers or PBMs.
Ah, the PBMs. They get a lot of criticism.
They do. They're third-party companies that administer prescription drug programs for insurance companies. And they have often been accused of inflating drug prices through these opaque rebate systems. Cuban's company sells medications at a transparent cost, plus just a small, fixed markup. His aim is to provide essential medications at drastically lower prices, directly tackling what he calls intentionally complex and exploitative pricing strategies in healthcare.
Cutting out the middleman, making drug costs clearer and more affordable, that's a significant disruption. Could help a lot of people. Okay, finally, let's quickly touch on just a couple of other noteworthy societal developments from around the world. One from France.
Yes, in France, a distressing situation has come to light. Approximately 2,000 children are currently experiencing homelessness.
2,000 homeless children in France.
It's an alarming statistic. It raises critical questions about the adequacy of their social safety nets, the effectiveness of support programs for vulnerable families, and really highlights the urgent need for comprehensive emergency housing and support services to protect these kids.
Truly distressing. And an interesting, somewhat eerie historical search is unfolding in Argentina, involving Nazi-looted art.
Yes, Argentina is actively searching for an 18th century portrait by an artist named Giuseppe Gislandi. It's believed to have been looted by a Nazi officer from a Jewish art collector, Jacques Gutsticker, during World War II.
And how did it surface now?
It recently appeared, incredibly, in an advertisement for a villa in Mar del Plata, Argentina.
In a real estate ad. Wow.
Yeah, this ongoing quest exposes Argentina's historical, albeit often uncomfortable, ties to post-war Nazis who sought refuge there. And it highlights these ongoing global efforts for historical justice and the recovery of stolen art from that dark period.
Wow, what a journey we've taken today. From the furthest reaches of the cosmos down to the most intimate corners of human experience and conflict, and even historical detective work. We've just traversed a truly vast and incredible landscape today, haven't we?
We really have.
From the deep mysteries of the cosmos and those groundbreaking AI breakthroughs reshaping our capabilities. to the intricate, often really turbulent world of geopolitics and the pressing humanitarian crises right here on Earth.
We saw the universe expanding, evolving, driven by visionaries like Rainer Weiss and the amazing tech from SpaceX and NASA.
Right.
We watched AI spread and reshape, well, almost everything. National security strategies, how our kids learn math, even how small businesses operate. Promising progress, but also bringing new challenges.
And we definitely wrestled with the heavy weight of human conflict and suffering. From the renewed assaults in Ukraine, the awful man-made famine reported in Gaza,
Yeah.
to challenging domestic issues right here like gun violence and those dramatic health policy shifts. We explored that complex dance of global trade wars, the delicate balance of international diplomacy where just every move seems to have ripple effects.
And hopefully connecting all these diverse threads helps you, the listener, see the bigger picture. To understand the why behind the headlines, maybe appreciate the profound shifts shaping our collective future. It's really about recognizing how intricately interconnected our world is, from the molecular level right up to the cosmic.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe a provocative thought for you to chew on. We've seen AI shaping everything from national security to our children's education. We see geopolitical alignments shifting dramatically. So what responsibility do we as informed citizens have, not just to understand these changes, but to actively shape the ethical frameworks, the diplomatic solutions, the things that will guide humanity's next great leap, or maybe prevent its next major fall?
Your engagement, your critical thinking, your continued curiosity, it's more vital than ever in navigating this incredibly fast-moving world. The stories we covered today, they aren't just news headlines. They're really the building blocks of tomorrow. And your understanding is key to helping shape that future.
So stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop digging deeper into the stories that truly matter. You've been listening to The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon with more insights to help you make sense of it all.